Welcome to our newest episode of The Spin, where I'm joined by San Francisco-based singer-songwriter Lucky Break to reflect both on her debut album, Made It, and the songwriters that have influenced her throughout her life. Join us for a conversation on the folk ethos, the quirks and complexities of the ballads of Elliott Smith, and Underscore's brilliant new record, You. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Okay, well, welcome to our newest episode of The Spin. I'm here today with Lucky Break. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I want to start by talking about you dropped your newest record just a
hmm
couple weeks ago, right? And just I want to ask what have the past couple of weeks been like for you? Because I know you were working on it for a long, long time, and so how does it feel now to be slightly removed from such a date, such a monumental date for you?
Oh, it feels really good. I'm excited. Like the way I was describing it before was like I felt like I was pregnant for a really, really long time, and now I finally had my weird baby, and it feels good to be relieved of that. But yeah, it's been great. I mean, the record came out on May 8th, and then I just did a show in LA like this last weekend, so I'm kind of like recovering from that adventure. But yeah, it's been awesome. And then I'm going to New York in June, and then I'm on a little tour in July. So yeah, just a lot of moving around this summer.
Nice, nice. And when's
Yeah.
the last time you were on the road before this, or will this be your first time on the road?
This is like my first time doing a tour for my own music. Like when I was 12, my mom is a musician, so when I was 12, I went on tour with her. So I've experienced the lifestyle, but this is like my first time going on tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you, I mean, I'd imagine you're excited. What do you imagine the best part will be, and what do you imagine the worst part will be?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I think the best part is just like seeing people and getting to play for people and getting to like hug people and talk to people. Like I love it so much. I love traveling because I feel like it gives you a lot of alone time where like I get to think and write and all that good stuff. The worst part is just like I guess keeping up with my body, like making sure that I'm getting enough sleep, that I'm eating well, that I'm not absolutely dying in the middle seat when I'm on a plane. So, yeah, it's more like the physical stuff that's a little challenging, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, so you sent me your five records beforehand, and I'll kind of say each one specifically as we get into each category. But
Cool.
just to recap for the audience, we'll have five categories, and to recap for you because it's been maybe a week since you sent me yours. So we'll have the first record you remember hearing, or the first record you ever listened to, the first album you bought or purchased, the most
Mhm.
influential album on you when you started making music, and then a classic album or just an album in general that's underappreciated, and then an album
Mhm.
that's come out in the past 5 years that you loved. And so I want to go through each one and kind of use each one as a touchstone to talk about your musical journey, but also talk more specifically about what you love about each of these records.
Cool.
Okay. So we'll start with the first album you remember hearing, and you have Innervisions by Stevie Wonder marked down.
Mhm.
Um, do you have a specific memory with this album at all, or even a more general memory of you hearing it, where you would have heard it, who showed it to you?
Yeah.
If you could just describe that for me.
Yeah. Um, well, the song that like really sticks out to me, the experience of like hearing the song was Living for the City. Because I think I was maybe like 5 or something, 5 or maybe even 4, but, that song has it's really, like, theatrical where there's, like, a skit in the middle of the song, and so I think I remember being really taken aback by that, like, I had never heard a song like that before. And yeah, I think I was listening to it because my dad had a record player in the living room. So I would be like playing with my toys or whatever, and my dad would be listening to records. And I remember being like, what is this? And then, there's like so many, there's Don't You Worry About a Thing. Like there's all these really fun dancey songs that I love to dance to as a kid. So yeah, it really stuck with me early on.
Yeah. And then, so tell me about your earliest musical experiences as a child. And you mentioned your mom was a musician, so what was her taste like, and what was it like being, this is multiple questions in one, so we can kind of parse it
Hmm.
out into a couple different answers, but yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. What was it like growing up around your mom who was a musician, and how did that imprint on your own music tastes?
Yeah, I feel super lucky that I grew up in like a musical household right from the jump. Like I was exposed to so much so early on. My mom was, like, really into soul and Americana and kind of, like, the way that those genres, sort of, like, interlapped, you know? Like, there was a lot of Aretha Franklin playing, a lot of Bonnie Raitt, and, she also was into the kinda, like, New York poets, like Patti Smith, stuff like that, so I think that stuff really, made a mark on me pretty early on. And my mom was also a vocal coach, so I would listen to her playing scales, like, every day, and there'd be people coming in and out of our house, you know, like, singing. So, I was always kind of around songs and people learning to sing and that kinda stuff, so I think it really, like, emphasized, like, the power of the voice and the importance of the voice. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was one of the things I wanted to ask was, with your mom and with your parents, was there any seed planted of that kind of singer-songwriter style? And you mentioned Bonnie Raitt, right? Is that the type of music your mom made or your mom performed?
Yeah, yeah. She was like my mom, I mean, still is, like a powerhouse vocalist, you know, singing these songs. She has, um she'll do a lot, she has, like, an album of, like, murder ballads and stuff like that. So her music was always, like, really concerned with, like, the woman's point of view,
Hmm.
and I think, like, these singer-songwriters like Dusty Springfield, stuff like that, like, they're telling these stories of, like, women, and yeah, she just, like, really, I think, f like, for me, really early on, I kind of realized that, like, music, was a way to talk about social justice and experience, you know, and, like, connect to people through that, and that was something that my mom was always doing, like, and I grew up listening to a lot of, like, protest songs and stuff like that too.
Hmm.
So, like, that aspect of the singer-songwriter, like, identity of, like, telling these stories, that, like, spoke to their time, I think was also something that she really brought in to my perspective, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and then I feel like growing up, even especially growing up in a musical family, it can be something that's just kind of there for you from a young
Mm,
age. You know what I mean? You can't really imagine life without having music played
yeah.
around the house or having music talked about. But I'm curious if you remember, not necessarily a specific point, but even a more general point where you became conscious that you enjoyed listening to music, or music was something that you enjoyed personally.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess this kind of feeds into, like, the first album, like, I bought, the John Prine record, because
Hmm.
I had a little record player, and I would buy records, and I would listen to them in my room, you know? And, like, listening to music in my room was really where I, uh, developed my own taste. I also had, like, a boombox. I'd listen to the radio a lot, so that also like, pop radio, so that was, like, a whole other world, you know, because like, my parents weren't really listening to pop radio, so that was, like, kind of, like, the first experience of growing my music taste on my own, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, that does give us a pretty good segue to move into the John Prine album, right? So for the
Mhm.
first album you bought, you said John Prine self-titled debut, John Prine, right? Tell me about, I guess, yeah, just tell me about your experience with buying the record specifically. Like, do you remember, was it a CD? Was it a vinyl? Do you remember where you bought it and why you chose that as your first record?
Yeah, it was a vinyl. My dad is a vinyl collector, so, like, right now I'm in my room at my dad's house, and I'm just, like, surrounded by vinyl right now. like floor to ceiling. So I like yeah, so I was like, exposed to it really early because of like my dad's addiction. Like we would go to like when we were living in New York, he'd go to the flea markets and it'd be like winter time and he'd be like shuffling through records and it's like negative 10 degrees and I'm like dying, like please get me out of here. He dragged me to so many record stores as a child and I really hated it. But then once I got a little older, and I started getting more into music. It was cool because like I would pick out whatever record and he would get it for me. So I started taking advantage of that. I don't remember like where I got it or why. It was like probably one of the times my dad visited me. We went to a store and he got me this record and I love John Prine because I went to this like summer camp where we would sing all the time and we had like a songbook, like a camp songbook. And John Prine, a bunch of his songs were in there,
Mhm.
and so that John Prine record had like a lot of the songs that I recognized from camp. So I bought it and I wore it out, like, I would play it front to back, like, every day. And there's this song, like, Sam Stone. I don't know if you ever heard the song Sam Stone. It's, like, about a veteran who, like, gets addicted to heroin or morphine or something like that, you know?
Mhm.
And it's, like, the saddest song you could possibly think of, and me as a child, like, I was maybe, like, 9 or 10. I was listening to that song constantly, like, I connected so deeply to it, even though I didn't really know what it was about. Um, so yeah, listening to that album was really a trip, like, I get transported back to being a kid in my room listening to this record over and over again. But yeah, I don't remember why like, where I got it. I just know that I saw the cover and I recognized the name and I knew the song, so I got it, you know?
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit more about what role, because we talked about your mom. What role did your dad have to play in the formation of your music taste?
Yeah, I think like my mom, she was like really involved in like teaching me to craft. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, and my dad is a lot more about exposing me to music and kind of like guiding my taste. Like, if I was listening to like a lot of surf rock or whatever, he'd be like, "Oh, well, maybe you'd like the Smiths or the Sundays or whatever," because he could like see the things that I was into and kind of like find the origins of those things. So yeah, there's kind of like an infinite well there to tap into, and he kind of like helped me discover a lot of my favorite artists. I had like a huge punk. I mean, I still am like I love punk music, but especially in middle school I was obsessed. Like I was listening to like The Clash and stuff like that. And that was largely because of my dad. I don't know if you've ever seen there's like this funny like I think it's The Onion or whatever, but they have like this funny headline that's like cool dad exposes daughter to music that will make her completely out of touch with her generation.
Yeah.
Like that's like that was my experience, which is cool. Like I was listening to a lot of stuff really early on that was kind of like not mainstream or even like, I was not the target audience for, but it opened up my mind, I think, to stuff. Um and then at the same time I was like addicted to pop radio and forced him to play that in the car all the time. So, yeah. Yeah, so both of them really I think like helped educate me just like kind of in different ways.
Hmm. And then at what age did you move to the West Coast, to San Francisco?
I guess I was like 9, I think.
Okay. And was there
Yeah.
was there any shift in, or did that have any impact upon the formation of your music taste or even the kind of music your parents were listening to, or was it the same thing as ever after that shift from the East Coast?
Yeah, so when I moved to California, like as a kid, I was in New York City, so there was just like so much music, so much stuff like happening all the time, and it was like I never felt out of place there. And then when I came to California, I kind of moved to like the suburbs, and I didn't really understand like the behave like how people acted like I didn't understand the social constructs or like the social contract of like how to act. Like I came to school like fuck, 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 and they're like, "You're 9 years old, you can't do that." um, so like I felt like really like an outsider, I guess, and so that's when I kind of like started using music as a way to escape, like as a method of like living in my own world, like using music as kind of an armor, and music became super important to me. Like it shifted from like, oh, this is just a thing that I'm around to this is like something that I need, to feel okay. And then like when I was 11 or 12, that's when I started writing songs because I was experiencing just like weirdness at schools, like having a hard time socially at school. And so I actually like left school for a little while and my mom was like, "You're just going to write about how you're feeling. You're just going to write songs." Cuz she didn't know what to do because I was just like having a terrible time and my mental health was like not in a good place. And so she was trying to like the way that she knew how to like transform her pain was through music. And so she kind of like was encouraging me to do that. And so I would like sit at the piano and I wrote my first songs that way. So music, I think like with the move shifted from just something to fill the airwaves to like an actual method of like living life and transmuting pain and connecting with people.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, you kind of touched on it there, but one thing I wanted to ask is you mentioned even with the like as far back as the John Prine record, right? You would listen to it every day. How
Yeah.
how would you say your actual music listening habits change over time and how you listen to music? Because you talked there about kind of what the meaning music held for you.
Mm, yeah. That's so interesting. I've never thought about it. I guess there are certain albums like I'm someone where like I get deep into an album and I
Hmm.
listen to it over and over and over again. And uh yeah, I don't know why that is. It's kind of always been like that. It also kind of varies with like where I'm at in life. Like there are some times in life where I'm discovering a lot of new music and I'm like making playlists and I'm like finding new artists and that's really fun. And then there are times where I'm like I only listen to these 10 songs on repeat. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and so you mentioned, well, I guess this is a good enough point to move on to our next album because we started talking about your start, like when you started songwriting and when you started
Mhm.
actually making songs for yourself. So you said the most influential record on you when you started making music was Either or by Elliott Smith. Um,
Yeah.
so just talk to me first about where you discovered this record and kind of what impact it had on you immediately. What were your first impressions?
Oh, well, I don't remember my first time listening to it, which is weird. I guess it's because I listened to it so many times. Like my Spotify was like, "You're in the 0.0001% of Elliott Smith listeners." And I'm like, there should be like a hotline associated with that. But I do think it was like maybe my dad that introduced me to him. But I was like I wouldn't say it was like when I first started making music, but I would say it's he informed like how I started writing for Lucky Break, like for
Hmm.
the Lucky Break project, which started when I was around 19 because I was going through this like real heartbreak and I also moved to Spain. So I was in this completely different place where I was like, I felt kind of like a stranger and I could kind of disappear into the world and into this album. And I think the thing that like really struck me about it is just how beautifully he communicates, like just his words and the way that he sings and the way that his instrumentation is so emotional and like it's intellectual at the same time. It's just like it's also beautiful music to listen to when you're traveling. Like if I'm sleeping on a bus or on a plane, like or sitting at a bus stop at 2 a.m. Like this music is like a companion. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel understood. Um, so I just like listen to it constantly. And uh I think it just really informed my writing. Like there are times where I'm writing and I'm like, I want to say this thing, but like how would Elliott Smith say it? Like how would he communicate this feeling, you know? And I don't try to like copy, but I just try to use him as like a guardian angel when I'm writing, to kind of guide, what I want to say in like the most like raw and direct, but also like beautiful way possible, you know?
Hmm. And so, what I want to do is kind of trace back your origins as a songwriter, back to when you first started writing songs up until we get to kind of the start of Lucky Break as a project, right? Because there's your entire like teenage years in there, and so just talk to me about your formation as a songwriter over those years and kind of like the challenges you faced and how you feel like you grew up until
Mm,
the start of Lucky Break.
yeah. Well, I guess my teenage years, what was I listening to? I was listening to, it's weird. Like a lot of the music that I listened to was not super like informative to me as an artist. I listened to a lot of like pop and a lot of like indie, like I listened to a lot of like Joy Wave. Like I listened to like what they would play at the Urban Outfitters. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Because I think like I was forming kind of like my identity and like didn't really. I think like at I think like the seeds are already sown that like I like sad, emotional, deep, spiritual music, you know? And I think that like as a teenager, I just kind of wanted to like listen to what other people were listening to in a way. Um, when I was younger, maybe like 10, I was obsessed with Taylor Swift. Really, I wrote a whole Substack essay about how she destroyed my psyche. Um, and yeah, so I was listening to like a lot of pop stuff. And then, of course, I was like obsessed with Nirvana and I love the Ramones and I love the Clash. So there was a lot of this like grunge and punk that I was also inspired by. I was listening to like a lot of Hole. Hole was like really big for me. And what else? I had like a Nirvana poster in my locker. Um, I was very into everything that was like emo. I loved Christina Perri, Jar of Hearts. That was a big one for me, you know?
Mhm.
So anything that oh, Fiona Apple, duh. I don't know how I forgot Fiona Apple. She was like huge, for me. So I would say those were the main things when I was a teenager. Yeah.
Yeah. And so were you writing songs that whole time, or was it something you dropped and then picked back up again when you started Lucky Break?
I was writing songs. I was definitely writing songs. I was mostly writing songs from a place of mimicry because I think that's how you learn is
Hmm.
by like mimicking other artists. I was obsessed with Amy Winehouse. So I was writing a lot of like R&B type of songs. And I was obsessed with Fiona Apple. So I have some recordings of myself maybe when I'm like 15 or 16. And I sort of I sound like I mean obviously I don't sound like her because she's like not like you can't be her. But I was singing exactly in her style. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I was like trying to sing like her. And same with Amy Winehouse. I had, songs where I was mimicking her, singing like her. So that was cool because it also taught me how to sing. Like I think by playing with like these writing songs that are like that allow me to sing like artists that I like, allow me to kind of find these different colors in my voice and these different techniques in my voice. Um, So yeah, but I don't really remember a lot of them. I mean, I remember the songs from when I was really little, but in terms of like songs I wrote when I was a teenager, they're a little bit lost to me. I'm sure they're still on my phone because I think I have everything still in my voice memos. But yeah, I haven't looked back at them. They were probably really not good. Like I don't really want to hear them. They would probably make me cringe, but I was learning. So
Yeah. And so tell me about kind of what changed in your songwriting and just in your artistry in general when you decided to start Lucky Break as a project. And was there, I guess, yeah, what was it like finding your own distinct voice at that time?
yeah. I was listening to a lot and a lot of like 90s alternative and indie rock and stuff like that. And I loved that it was so DIY because I felt like I wanted to make something in that vein, just something on my own. And I made Lucky Break because I wanted creative freedom. I didn't want my name attached to stuff because like I'd put out music under my own name and I just felt like I was so perfectionistic about it and I didn't feel super connected to it and I just wanted to like explode. Like I just wanted to like explode creatively. I wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted and I felt like if I had a name or like a character that I could do it through the character and it wouldn't be so scary. Um, so that's kind of like now I feel like that's kind of what the project has allowed me to do. It's
Hmm.
like say whatever and make whatever. Like the album that I made, there's songs like kind of across multiple genres. Like there's a little bit of country, there's a little bit of indie rock, there's like, I feel like it moves around a bit, it's more fluid. And I think that's because I didn't feel constrained by anything when I was making it, you know?
Hmm. And so I want to talk a little more specifically about the process of making Made It, which is your debut album, right? From the time you started Lucky Break, were you kind of working on that album, or was it an idea that came up later for you?
The album,
Yeah.
um, I think so. I made an EP. So the EP has two songs on it that are on the album, Red Balloon and what's the other one? Burning String, I think. Yeah. So I made this EP under Lucky Break, and then I just started recording songs. I just started recording songs. I don't know. I don't think I even had a plan to make an album. I wasn't signed at the time. I was just like, making stuff with my friends. And then I was like, oh, well, we have 5 songs. We could do an EP. And I was like, but I have more songs than that, so we could do an album. So it just kind of like became a thing. And then by the time I was signed, it was done. It was done. So it just kind of worked out, you know?
Mm-hmm. And so now that the album's done and it's out, what do you think, and looking back on it, what do you think is your kind of greatest triumph um, in the record, either as a songwriter or just in general as an artist? Like, what are you most proud of with it?
Hmm. Like musically?
Hmm.
Because I could give you like a therapy answer, which is like, oh, I learned so much. I'm so self-actualized now.
Okay,
But um
let's do both. I feel like both answers will be good, so let's do both.
I think, well, I feel most proud of Big Swing because this song is extremely vulnerable. I feel awkward every time I play it live. I love playing it live. It's also the song that, like, when I play it live, I feel the most, like, meditative. Like, I feel the most, like, in the song when I sing that song. And I think it's because it requires a lot of focus and it requires a lot of vulnerability and a lot of adrenaline attached to all of that. And it's also got a big note at the end. I love the way that the vocals build at the end. Like I just feel like the song is kind of larger than the sum of its parts, which is cool. And I wrote it in a really dark time. And I also recorded it when I was sick. Like I was like literally like on the floor, like in the trenches, like sick. And I recorded this song and it's on the record. So like I feel like it's kind of the like embodiment of this like by any means necessary getting through the the feelings and the whatever it is that made you write the song, you know?
Yeah.
That the whole record kind of encapsulates. I feel like that's kind of like the song that I'm feeling the most connected to right now. But yeah, the record's called Made It because like one, I made it, but also like making it through that time period, I think is something that I feel pretty proud of.
So you don't have to reveal very many specific details, but I just am curious to know, do you plan to approach whatever the next record or the next project is for you any differently, either from like a songwriting perspective or do you
Hmm.
think even from an emotional perspective that you'll approach it differently?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll approach it differently. Like, I think my goals and my desires as an artist are the same, but I want to just keep exploring and keep expanding and being weird, you know? So that's kind of the plan.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we can move on. I don't have like a smooth segue here, but we'll just move on to the fourth category, the fourth album. You have Whip Smart by Liz Phair
Mm-hmm.
as your underappreciated classic album. And I think there's a lot to talk about here because you spoke about your mom specifically and how important like female voices and female songwriters have been for you in your journey. And this is the only female songwriter we have in on the list. So I
Oh
guess
my
my
gosh. Oh
my
no, wait, underscores. Underscores is
oh
a woman.
underscores we do okay. The only one we have so far, I should say. You're right.
Right.
You're right. Um, but so I mean, let's just start by you could tell me specifically what you value about this record. Why do you think she's underappreciated as a songwriter? And then I do also want to talk more about what you value about female songwriters in general and the female voice in music.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I think, well, this, why do I think this album's underrated? I guess I think this album is underrated because, like, Liz Phair, I think, is like a generational songwriter. And I think because she's weird and imperfect, that's the thing that I think really struck me about her work is like how strange and imperfect it is, and like how some things sound like they were recorded in a tin can, but it's incredible. Like I think it gave me permission in so many ways as an artist just to like say what I wanted to say in the way that I wanted to say it. And yeah, I love her. I think she's fearless. So I feel like I mean, I think she's getting a lot more flowers now. Like I know she's going on tour with Slater-Kinney, which is so cool. Um, and like people are with the like 90s resurgence, like people are bringing her name up more. But you know, she had like these kind of pop songs that went off in the 2000s, you know, like Why Can't I? And I think she's like remembered for that work when I'm like, look over here at Whip Smart. Like these are some of the coolest songs ever written, you know? I love Dogs of LA. It's so good. There's so many amazing, memorable lyrics on this album and also so many cool melodies. Like it's hooky as hell. Like these songs get stuck in your head, you know, and they don't leave. And the lines too. And I think that's like a mark of a really good song is like after you listen to it one time, you can sing it, you know, just because the lyrics are that memorable and the melodies are that sticky. So yeah, I think these songs like are just underrated. Like I feel like Liz Phair is a little lesser known, like, you know, like she's just a little lesser known than she should be, in my opinion. But she's pretty
Yeah.
well known. But she should
Yeah.
be more well known.
Well, and so you mentioned the fearlessness was something that was really impactful for you. Is there anything specifically about her songwriting or her artistry that you try to mirror? Would you say it's that or something else?
Yeah, I think like just letting go of perfectionism and also like having a sense of humor. Um, and I think like with her music, there's always like this sense of humor that I really appreciate. And, her voice, like, is not the greatest voice in the world, okay? But most of my favorite artists are not the greatest singers in the world, and I love it, Like just she's just singing the songs. Like she's not like over analyzing anything. And her videos are the same. Like it's very playful and it's real. And I also think like wait, I don't even remember what you were asking me. Now I'm just on like a rant about how I how I love Liz
Keep going
Phair. I
though.
don't remember what you asked.
Um, I ask if there's anything in her songwriting or her artistry that you specifically try to mirror or reflect in your own.
Oh yeah, just that fire, just that like fuck it, like that I'm gonna do the song kind of vibe, which I love. And I love the weird instrumentation. Like on this record, there's like some frog sounds and some like there's also really beautiful sad songs too, like chopsticks. Like what? Like some of these like things that she does musically on this album are so genius. It's crazy. So I just try to like keep that unbridled creativity in mind when I'm making stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel like in part well, I guess we do have 2 out of 5 female songwriters, but I want to give you an opportunity to just shout out any other female artists or female songwriters that you like especially love or have been especially impactful for you. And you could talk about why if you want to, or you could just say the names. Not to put you on
Oh,
the spot. I should have
it's
asked this
so funny.
beforehand.
I don't know if you've ever seen like Billy on the Street, but he has this thing where he's like, for $1, name a woman. And like
Yeah.
no one can name a woman because it's terrifying. So of course like my mind is like going blank, but like I already talked about Fiona Apple. I love Sandy Denny. I think she's incredible. Love Amy Winehouse. Um, I mean, Liz Phair is huge. Amy Mann is huge. Nina Simone is huge. Like, I don't know. I think, yeah, for me, I never really like felt. I mean, I never really. Oh, Tracy Chapman, of course. Um, I think like for me, like the fact that a singer-songwriter like I don't necessarily tap into like the gender of a singer-songwriter, like instantly, but I think when I was younger, it was really important for me to see women, doing writing songs and like it was I think now like I listen to music less with that in mind, like I'm always
Hmm.
aware that like there's a different perspective, but I don't know, I don't think about it as much because I think like a question that like sometimes I'll get asked is like, there's so many female singer-songwriters. Like, why do you think that you're special? You know what I mean? And like sometimes I feel like female singer-songwriter is seen as like a genre when like
Hmm.
I feel like it should just all be singer-songwriter,
Yeah.
which maybe that's kind of like not woke, but I just feel like I just feel like uh I don't necessarily feel like being I mean, I think Joni Mitchell, whatever, like the what's the word? She's like the considered the not apex, not what is the word? I can't think of it. I didn't have my coffee today. But quintessential. She's considered like the quintessential female singer-songwriter,
Hmm.
you know? And I think that like it's incredible like that there's kind of like a world for like women to exist as songwriters, but I also feel like I also love Arlo Parks. But I don't know, I just feel like I try not to like create a line in the sand necessarily like this because this is person is a woman and a songwriter, it's female singer-songwriter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I also love Carly Hartzman from Wednesday. So, but yeah. It's cool though. I think it's good to like make sure that female singer-songwriters are like amplified and supported and stuff like that. I also feel like sometimes people see female singer-songwriters as like in their kind of little like vacuum world of their own when they should be a part of like the entire landscape of singer-songwriters and music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the thread I've gathered throughout the interview is that you appreciate singer-songwriters in general in that style of music because of the value of their perspective and the way they're able to relay their experiences through their music. And that's something that comes across very potently in your music as well, right?
Thanks. I mean, yeah, I think it's like storytelling, you know?
Hmm.
And I think like um there's I don't know. I mean, who you are and your and how you move through the world affects the stories that you experience and like how you tell them, you know? So identity is obviously an extremely important aspect of the singer-songwriter, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but there's so many things that go into identity other than just like your gender, you know? So sometimes I'm like, why don't you like, I mean, it's kind of stupid, but I don't know. Yeah, it's something that I feel like when you're first starting out, you know, like it's hard sometimes because people ask you, not you, but like some people have asked me about how my gender plays into it, and it annoys me for some reason, you know? I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. Well, the other thing I wanted to ask about has nothing to do with gender, but it does have to do with your Substack that you write on.
Mm,
Um, so as someone like as a singer-songwriter, right, you write about your experiences. I'm curious how you kind of divide or know how to divide your experiences into what you're going to write about in your songwriting and then what you're going to write about in your more like prosaic Substack style. Like, how do
mm.
you balance those two artistic forms?
Yeah, well, you're very generous for saying my Substack is an artistic form. Because I'll just be putting anything on Substack. Um, yeah, I guess I go through phases. I go through phases where I like to just write, and then I go through phases where uh, I want to write songs, you know? It kind of like
Hmm.
cycles. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, so I have our last record here. It's "You" by Underscores is the album in the past 5 years that you loved. I've heard very, very good things about this record, and I personally listened to it when it first came out. I thought it was pretty good, and then someone else recommended it to me, and I re-listened to it, and I thought it was better. And then I listened to it again to
Mm,
research for this. It's improved for me every time I've listened to it, like just the overall cohesion of the sound and the way the
mm,
record comes together. So I feel like I have a very simple question here, but it's just what do you appreciate about this record?
yeah. Yeah, I think, like, I was really primed for, like, liking it from the jump because I was listening to a ton of Imogen Heap. I don't know if you've listened to Speak for Yourself, that album.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that I just am so inspired by the sonics on this album, like, just the I mean, also it's incredible that she produced this and made all the song like, it's all 100% her, and I love when you're listening to an album and you can feel that, like, piece of their soul coming through, you
Hmm.
know? Like, this is a part of her, you know, that she's, like, sharing with us. And I think that's so magical. Like you can just hear like the inside of her brain and how it works and what she was thinking when she made it, which I think is so, so cool. And it's like fun. It's fun to dance to. The lyrics are really great. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Is there anything you specifically enjoy about electronic music? Because it's not something we've gotten to talk about very much over the course of this interview.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think I love I'm really, like, interested in electronic music, specifically, like, synthesizers, because there's infinite possibilities, which is so cool to think about, and, I love weird sounds, like, I've been listening to David Bowie Low, which, like, the first half of that album is, like, songs, and then the second half is, like, these soundscapes, made with Brian Eno, and I think there's, like, a really spiritual aspect of electronic music, this, like, connection of, like, the human and the machine that's happening that I think is so cool, and I think especially, like, as technology kind of we feel like technology is, like, eating up our lives, Like, creating electronic music is kind of this, like, beautiful symbiotic relationship between human and technology, and I wonder if, like, that could provide us with some answers as to, like, how to move forward in this world, So I just think I don't know. I just think it's like a cool frontier for music, and I'm like so excited to see like what else gets made because of like more and more people have access to, GarageBand and Logic and stuff like that. And um, yeah, I just think it's like kind of limitless, and that's what excites me about it.
Okay, cool. Well, that's my last question. That's all I have. So I'll stop the recording. Thank you again for tapping into this episode of The Spin. If you enjoyed this episode and this conversation, please check out our website at melt-fm.com to see some of our interviews with rising artists from across the globe and some of the additional content we'll be pushing out over the coming months. Thank you.